Do you know that there are 42 million survivors of child sexual abuse in the United States? If you think about the Super Bowl, survivors of child sexual abuse could fill 525 stadiums. If you Google child sexual abuse, you're going to find so many organizations that are fighting it. So many are working to prevent child sexual abuse. They're working to educate on the signs that you should be looking for. But there's the number one sign that a child is being sexually abused that we don't talk about very much. And that sign is when the child tells you that they're being abused. Well, of course, right? Well, that's obvious. If they tell you, then of course, right? No, it's not of course, and it's not obvious. If you had the chance to talk to those 42 million people, the 525 stadiums filled with survivors, a large majority of them would tell you that they were not believed when they told. So many of them are going to have a common refrain, and it goes like this: my own blank didn't believe me. You can fill in that blank with whatever you want. My own mother, grandmother, grandfather, sister, brother. You could fill it in with whatever you want, but it's a common theme. They all say, my own blank didn't believe me. It's not just family and friends though. The one place where they should absolutely be believed is one of the main places that they're most commonly not believed, and that's the legal system. Of all the reports that are made for child abuse, 50% get investigated. The rest get screened out. They never even get looked at. 29% of child sexual abuse reports result in an arrest. That number drops to 19% if the child is under 6 years old. Less than 3% get convicted. The main place they're not believed is in the justice system. That's the main place that's supposed to protect them, and they're not believed. As I said a minute ago, there are so many organizations working on this. There are so many campaigns. How many times have you seen the phrase, see something, say something? It's unbelievable that we're spending this much time and this much money to educate people to get a report, but when a report comes in, the child's not believed. That education has to lead to a child being protected. Isn't that the whole point of the education, is to get a report so the child can be protected and believed? Our advocacy center just reported that they saw 17 children in the last 3 days. In just the last 3 days, children report every day in every children's advocacy center across the nation. They do report. What would happen if just those children were believed? What would happen if we changed all those statistics I said a minute ago? What if 100% of those reports got investigated, a full investigation? What if 71 to 81% of those reports, the opposite of 19 to 29%, ended up with it resulting in an arrest? What would happen if 97% of those reports ended up with a perpetrator convicted, with a perpetrator stopped from ever harming again? Wouldn't that change everything? Yes, everyone needs to be educated on the signs that their child might be being abused, but also need to know that children who are being sexually abused might not have any of those signs. Children that are being abused all act differently, and they all act differently when they report. When they're describing the abuse that happened to them, they might even smile or laugh. Why would they do that? Because when they're reporting, it might be more about how comfortable they are with the person they're reporting to, with you, than about what actually happened to them. It could be that they're trying to make you feel comfortable because they know this is a really difficult situation. Could be that they're trying to make themselves feel comfortable because this is a really difficult situation and their anxiety is high and you don't know how they're going to react to that. What a child tells you when they explain that they've been abused might sound unbelievable. That's what the abuser wants. They want it to sound unbelievable. They want you to not believe them. It doesn't matter whether it's believable to you or not. It really doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the child says happened. Your understanding of what happened and the way they reacted might come with time. It might come with you being educated. The people at the Children's Advocacy Centers are great at explaining this, but you're probably going to have to do a lot of research on your own to try and figure it out. You might not ever figure it out. Why would something so heinous and horrible that this person would do, why would that ever make sense to you? It may never make sense. Your understanding may come over time, but the damage done to a child not being believed is immediate and irreparable. Don't let that happen to them. Believe the child. You may be sitting there right now thinking, this is ridiculous. Of course I would believe the child if they told me they're being abused. Of course I would. But that's not what actually happens when a child reports. What actually happens is the opposite, and most people defend the abuser and they don't believe the child. Recently there was a report in the news about somebody being arrested in our community. Here are some of the comments that were on the comment section on Facebook. I just don't believe it. That couldn't have happened. I know this person. He, she would never do that. I just don't understand. He, she is such a great person, such a great dad. That's the kind of comments that you read. You're also going to see courtrooms fill up with people supporting the abuser, not the child. There's been reports where an entire church came and filled a courtroom supporting the abuser. It's unbelievable, I know, but it happens all the time, and it's horrific. Children do not lie about being abused. The number one sign we need to educate that a child is being abused is when they say the words, when they say their abuser's name. The number one thing we need to do is to teach people to believe the child when they do that. If we did that, it would change everything. If we do this, what's the most important thing that's going to happen? Children are going to know they're going to be believed. We constantly talk about why children don't tell. Well, I wrote something about that I'm going to read. Why don't children tell? If we want children to report, they have to see children being believed, not called liars. They have to see abusers being held accountable, not being made the victim. They have to see that they're worthy of whatever it takes to defend them from the person that made them feel worthless. They have to see that the person they thought was invincible is now powerless to hurt them ever again. Don't ask why children don't tell. Give them a reason they should. Child sexual abuse is an epidemic, but children not being believed is an epidemic too. Don't be the person that let a child down. You won't regret believing and standing with the child. Always believe the child, no matter what. If you want to stand with the child and you agree that children need to be believed and that needs to be the number one thing that we're educating on, I hope that you'll subscribe and hit the bell to know when we have more videos coming out. And above all, please believe the child.